90% of your potential is sitting untapped right now, not because you lack talent, not because you lack opportunity, but because of a single belief system operating in the background of your mind that you probably do not even know is there. Researchers at Stanford University confirmed this after decades of study. The way you think about your own abilities determines almost everything about what you will and will not achieve in your lifetime. In the next 10 minutes, you are going to discover exactly what separates people who consistently grow, adapt, and succeed from those who stay stuck in the same patterns for years. We are going to break down the science behind two fundamentally different ways of seeing yourself and the world. And here is the part most people miss: the mindset holding you back is not always obvious. In fact, it often disguises itself as humility, realism, or even wisdom. That revelation changes everything. The concept of fixed versus growth mindset was introduced to the world by Dr. Carol Dweck, a psychologist at Stanford University. She spent more than 3 decades studying how people respond to challenges, failure, and feedback. Her research, which eventually became the best-selling book Mindset published in 2006, fundamentally shifted how educators, athletes, business leaders, and psychologists think about human potential. Dweck's work began in the 1970s when she was studying how children dealt with failure. She noticed something striking. Some children fell apart when they encountered difficult problems. Others became almost energized by the same challenges. They leaned in. They tried harder. They experimented. The tasks were identical. The results were dramatically different. And the only thing separating these two groups was how they thought about their own intelligence and ability. From that observation, 2 core categories emerged: the fixed mindset and the growth mindset. Understanding both in depth is not just an academic exercise. It is one of the most practical things you can do for your career, your relationships, your health, and your sense of self. A fixed mindset is the belief that your qualities are carved in stone. Intelligence, talent, personality, these things are seen as fixed traits. You either have them or you do not. People operating from a fixed mindset are constantly trying to prove themselves. Every situation becomes a test. Every challenge becomes a threat. Because if you fail, it does not just mean you did not succeed at a task. In a fixed mindset, failure means you are not good enough. That is a devastating equation, and it causes people to avoid challenges, give up easily, and feel threatened by the success of others. Here is a number that should stop you cold. In Dweck's research, students with a fixed mindset who were given increasingly difficult math problems not only gave up sooner, they actually began lying about their scores to peers. Protecting the image of being smart became more important than actually getting smarter. That is the fixed mindset trap at its most dangerous. Now contrast that with a growth mindset. This is the belief that your most basic abilities can be developed through dedication and hard work. Talent and intelligence are just the starting point. A person with a growth mindset does not see failure as a verdict. They see it as information. They see challenge as a path to competence. They understand that the brain itself is a muscle, and neuroscience has confirmed this is not just a metaphor. The concept of neuroplasticity, which became widely understood in the 1990s and 2000s, proves that the brain physically rewires itself in response to learning and effort. New neural connections form. Old ones strengthen. Your brain is not fixed hardware. It is adaptive software, constantly updating based on what you experience and practice. The growth mindset, it turns out, is not just a positive attitude. It is scientifically accurate. But here is what nobody talks about: most people do not have a purely fixed or purely growth mindset. They exist on a spectrum, and even people who intellectually understand growth mindset principles regularly slip into fixed mindset patterns without realizing it. Dr. Dweck herself admitted in later interviews that she had to confront her own fixed mindset triggers, especially around judgment from peers and public criticism. So if you are watching this thinking you already have a growth mindset, this is the moment to ask yourself, where in your life are you still avoiding the uncomfortable work of real growth? Research published in the journal Psychological Science found that students who were praised for their intelligence, told they were smart, consistently chose easier tasks in follow-up experiments compared to students who were praised for their effort. The intelligence-praised group wanted to protect their smart label. The effort-praised group wanted to keep improving. One simple sentence from an authority figure was enough to shift the entire trajectory of how those children approached learning. This has enormous implications for parenting, for leadership, and for how you talk to yourself. The internal dialogue running in your head right now is either reinforcing a fixed frame or a growth frame. And most people have never stopped to audit that voice. Consider the world of elite athletics. In a study of elite gymnasts and swimmers, those who described setbacks as learning opportunities consistently outperformed those who described setbacks as evidence of limitations, even when raw talent levels were comparable. The mental framework was doing as much work as the physical training. In some cases, more. Michael Jordan was cut from his high school basketball team. Walt Disney was fired from a newspaper job for lacking imagination. Oprah Winfrey was told by a television producer that she was unfit for TV. Every single one of these stories has become cultural shorthand for persistence, but what made them possible was not just stubbornness. It was a deep, genuine belief that current failure does not define future capability. That is growth mindset in its purest form. Now here is where the analysis gets genuinely powerful. Organizations and companies are beginning to measure mindset at scale, and the findings are transforming how teams are built and how cultures are designed. A survey conducted by Sen Delaney found that employees at companies with a strong growth mindset culture were 47% more likely to say their colleagues were trustworthy, 34% more likely to feel a strong sense of ownership and commitment, and 65% more likely to say their company supports risk-taking. Think about what those numbers mean in practice. A culture of growth mindset does not just make people feel better. It fundamentally changes behavior across entire organizations. It increases innovation, reduces fear of failure, and builds psychological safety, the environment where people actually do their best work. But there is a critical warning here. Research has shown that when growth mindset becomes a corporate buzzword without genuine structural support, it can backfire. If a company tells employees to embrace a growth mindset but then punishes failure, the message becomes toxic. Authenticity is not optional. The mindset has to be modeled from the top down, in real decisions and real consequences. For individuals, the path forward begins with awareness. Start by identifying your fixed mindset triggers. What situations cause you to feel defensive, to avoid effort, or to attribute your results entirely to circumstances beyond your control? Those are the pressure points where your fixed mindset is most active. Then practice what Dweck calls the power of yet. Instead of saying I cannot do this, say I cannot do this yet. That single word shifts the sentence from a verdict to a trajectory. It is a small change that begins rewiring the way your brain frames possibility. Over time, repeated consistently, it changes the questions you ask, the risks you take, and ultimately the results you produce. Journal your setbacks as learning data. Seek feedback actively rather than waiting for it passively. Spend time with people who challenge you, not just people who validate you. These are not soft suggestions. They are concrete behavioral practices supported by decades of psychological research. The bottom line is this. You were not born with a ceiling on your potential. The ceiling you feel is made of thought patterns, not facts. Fixed mindset says the story is already written. Growth mindset says you are still holding the pen. Before you go, if you learned something valuable today, hit that like button right now. Subscribe to Get Up Life for a brand new video every single day. We will see you in the next one.